So my 2022 deer season started off as every season does for me, and that was sitting down with my buddy Chris and having a conversation. Every year we sit down and talk about things we did well the prior season, mistakes we'd made the prior season, and then we try and come up with a list of goals or things that we'd like to accomplish on our properties before the upcoming season. The first item was we wanted to establish a good late season food source on the property for the deer. And then item number 2 is we had talked about the increasing mature doe population on this property and what we wanted to do to address it. So item number 1 we had talked about was establishing that good late season food source for the deer. On this specific piece of property, the majority of the land is all in agricultural fields. So once the crops ripen and are harvested by the farmer, the deer were losing a significant food source, and in turn we were losing a significant deer population that had moved on looking for other sources of food. What we wanted to establish was a couple of good late season food plots that matured right around the beginning of November that would hopefully hold the deer on the property a little bit longer through the season. So the second item we had discussed was the doe population on this piece of property. From what we had seen in the stand the previous year and taking inventory, we had decided that our doe population, especially mature does, had risen to such a level that it was time to harvest some of those does off the property. So October 3rd rolls around, and it's a beautiful early fall evening, about a 5-mile-an-hour wind out of the west, which set me up perfect for a stand I have on the east side of the property. I have a trail camera near that stand where I was getting good pictures of buck we had named 50-50 coming out in the beans late afternoon, early evening time frame. My hopes were that he was going to continue to follow that pattern and may present me with a shot. However, I also knew that we had a large doe population coming out in that same bean field, and if 50-50 didn't show up, it was time to start harvesting some of those does. So after sitting in the stand for about an hour to an hour and a half, I noticed that 2 deer had started to pop out in the field about 150 yards down from where my stand was. Both were bucks. The one was a smaller buck that we hadn't named. The other one was a split brow 12 point, which we had named the Bronx. We'd had a conversation earlier in the year about him, whether he was going to be on our shooter list or not. Ultimately, we decided we wanted to give him a pass this year and see what he turned into next year. So as they worked their way down the field, I was able to get some awesome video footage of them and had a pretty good encounter with the Bronx at about 30 yards. Ultimately, I chose to pass on him, but the experience was still worth it. So after watching both bucks feed for about 45 minutes, Bronx slowly made his way back into the wood line. He was replaced in the field by a doe. After watching the doe for several minutes, it was obvious she was a mature doe that didn't have a fawn or a yearling with her. Ultimately, I decided that if she presented me with a shot, I was going to take it. So after waiting about 45 minutes after I'd seen the doe go down, I climbed out of the stand and went to check to make sure the doe had completely expired. When I reached the doe, I realized I had left my camera in the tree still. As you can imagine, this made taking any video rather difficult. My Tactacam, however, was able to capture a picture of me dragging the doe out. After getting the doe home, I was able to take a couple quick pictures before dropping her off at the processor. I can't thank my wife and family enough for their support. And until next time, guys, stay safe, wear your harness, and shoot what makes you happy.